Guys, we have a big breaking news coming out when it comes to nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. North Korea threatens US with more aggressive actions. Now, once again, North Korea has issued a warning to the US a day after the secretive Asian nation test fired a ballistic missile and condemned American sanctions on Pyongyang. And once again, we do have some more breaking news coming out. Putin answers Nicolas Maduro call to help. Venezuela resist President Donald Trump. So we're going to see what's going on with both of these breaking news here, guys. Before I start, for those of you that want to send us letters, a prayer request, you can send it to me, US Santiago, or my wife, Jessica Santiago, at 3432 US Highway 19, number 2, Holiday, Florida, 34691. All right, let's see what's going on here, guys. Nation against nation are continuing to build up. Kiev, Kharkiv, multiple cities in Ukraine right now in total blackout. This is the worst blackout ever. All right, so they got hit last night, and boy, oh boy, those grids are just damaged. So right now, multiple cities in Ukraine is total blackout. All right, let's see what's going on here. North Korea has issued a warning to the U.S. a day after the secretive Asian nation test fired a ballistic missile and condemned American sanctions on Pyongyang. North Korea Defense Minister No Kwang-kol said his country would take more aggressive actions against the threat of our adversaries, as he condemned security talks between the U.S. and Seoul and the arrival of the American nuclear-powered aircraft carrier George Washington in South Korea. Man, we are really hated by many. So we got stuff in the Caribbean. We have stuff out there in South Korea. We got so many things out there in the world. The warning comes amid heightened tensions on the Korean Peninsula and concerns that Pyongyang may be prepping for more missile tests or cyber operation. So once again, what to know? It says here, No Kwang-kol criticized a recent visit by U.S. and South Korean defense chiefs to the border between North and South Korea, saying we were conspiring against the North and integrating their nuclear and conventional forces. No called this a stark revelation and an unveiled international expression of their hostile nature to stand against the DPRK to the end, referring to the country's formal name. No said the visit of the carrier George Washington to the port city of Busan after U.S.-South Korean joint air drills was provocative. All right, so you guys already know we do a lot of training drills out there in South Korea. We have, I think, 30,000 U.S. soldiers out there in South Korea. And so the North Korea, is not liking it. As a result, he said Pyongyang would, give me a second here, guys. Pyongyang would show more aggressive actions against the threat of our adversaries and the principle of ensuring security by strong force and protecting peace, according to North K state media KCNA. Last week, North Korea test-fired cruise missiles as the U.S. Commander-in-Chief and world leaders gathered in South Korea for the regional meetings. On Friday, North Korea fired a ballistic missile towards the sea of its east coast, sparking condemnation from Seoul, that's the capital of South Korea. It followed more U.S. sanctions being imposed against North Korean individuals and entities Washington said were involved in cyber-related money laundering schemes. North Korea's defense minister, No Kwang-kol, according to KCNA, said we have accurately understood the hostility of the U.S. to confront the DPRK to the end, and we will never avoid responding to it. He added, all threats that approach our right to security will be placed in our right of sight and will be managed in a manner necessary. Those are strong words, very strong words. So what happens next? As tensions on the peninsula increase, there will be anticipation over what might come of the president interest in meeting North Korean leader Kim, which he expressed at last month's APEC summit. Now, Kim is also reportedly interested in such a meeting. A survey by the Chicago Council on Foreign Affairs released after the summit found that 3/4 of Americans support Donald meeting with Kim. They were good friends. I think they still are good friends. The problem is what's going on now is all politics stuff. It's just the sanctions and everything that is being slapped on them. All right, so we're going to go with this next news. Putin answers Maduro's call to help. Venezuela resists Donald. Putin, only you could stop Donald. You know what they're telling Donald in the White House? Donald, only you could stop Putin. All these, whispering in the ears of these leaders. That's why we must pray for them. The Bear has declared it stands ready to answer Venezuela urgent military appeals. Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria said on Friday during a press briefing. On Friday, Moscow confirmed it would consider Caracas' request for critical support, including repairs to the Russian-made fighter jets, upgrades to radar system, and the delivery of missile units, as Venezuelan leader Nicolas sounded the alarm over what he described as an escalating and imminent threat from the U.S. commander. All right, so once again, U.S. commander administration. The developments mark a deepening of the military and diplomatic link between Russia and Venezuela, so they're basically good allies. Amid rising U.S. military activity in the Caribbean, with Washington deploying warships, fighter jets, and troops, and conducting recent strike that targeted small vessel allegedly linked to the gangs. You know what this reminds me of? 2021. When Joe became president, right? There was all these tanks, all these equipments from Russia, and they were in the northern part of Belarus, and in the eastern part of Ukraine, you had all these Russian stuff, just tanks and everything ready. And the news media was talking about there's going to be an invasion. And same thing is happening here. Again, this time it's not Russia, it's the U.S. They have their ships and everything surrounding Venezuela. Now, here's the thing, guys, is that we got involved and we helped Ukraine. Russia's going to get involved and they're going to help Venezuela. It's the same story. It's just a different year, different country. It's like a deja vu stuff going on here. Putin is like, you want to bring war to my front door? I bring war to your front door. I will back Venezuela, just like you back Ukraine. All right, so we are definitely seeing something here, guys. Donald has severely escalated his administration's campaign against the gangs, which he has designated as unlawful combatants. Now, Moscow response could reshape great power dynamic in Latin America and alter the regional security balance. Nicolas' request underscores Venezuela's heightened sense of vulnerability and his turn to Moscow for critical military backing. So you have Maria said that Moscow stood ready to respond appropriately to the request from Venezuela while requesting that all parties refrain from escalatory actions. Earlier statements from her have emphasized that Moscow acts within bilateral military technical cooperation, agreement, and laws, and that the maintained presence of Russian military advisors in Venezuela is consistent with those deals. Once again, this here is Maria. Give me a second here, guys. So, according to internal U.S. Gov documents reported by the Washington Post last week, Nicholas asked Moscow for military assistance, including repairs to the Russian-made Sukhoi Su-30 Mk2 fighters, delivery of about 14 missile units, and overhauls of engines and radars system. Now, he described the jets as the most important deterrent the Venezuelan National Gov had when facing the threat of war. The request was reportedly delivered by Venezuelan Transportation Minister Ramon during a mid-October visit to Russia. Now, Venezuela has some old weapons. And the problem here is that those old weapons, well, they don't have spare parts. And the reason why is because sanctions. Sanction is preventing them from getting parts for these. Again, we sold them F-16, I believe, back in the 80s, and they need some of those parts. And sanctions is hurting them. Now they're going to Russia. Hey, we need your help. Send us some parts if you can. Also, this week, Alexei, deputy chairman of Russia Parliamentary Defense Committee, told state media that Moscow could supply Venezuela with its new, no, don't say that, man, Orishnik missile system, saying that he saw no obstacle to providing the advanced weapon to a unfriendly nation. Just imagine that, having Orishnik right in our backyard. So, Russia and Venezuela earlier this year signed a broad strategy partnership treaty covering energy, arms, and diplomatic coordination. Under the agreement, Moscow and Caracas pledged to strengthen cooperation in multiple domains, including arms control and trade in the face of Western sanctions. This formal framework underpins the current military request and Russia's willingness to engage. U.S. military presence. Washington has built up a substantial force in the Caribbean over recent months, claiming the deployment is to combat the drugs, and the campaign has targeted at least 14 vessels and resulting in 60 plus deaths. Russia has publicly condemned this buildup, with Maria describing the use of U.S. military force in the region as excessive and in breach of both U.S. domestic legislation and international law. Venezuela Foreign Minister, I'm going to skip his name, posted on Telegram on Monday on behalf of President Nicholas, the Bolivian Gov, thanks to the sister nation of Russia, sister nation of Russia, for its continued efforts to condemn and de-escalate military threats in the Caribbean Sea, which directly target Venezuela. Russia's Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria, speaking in Moscow on Friday, said, "There are different tactics, different ways of doing things, but it is clear that what a number of American observer experts and figures in various structures are saying is that this kind of direct aggression will worsen the situation rather than resolve this issue that have every potential to be resolved legally and diplomatically within the legal framework." Maria, no offense, but your country has went into Ukraine and you guys just took out a whole bunch of lights out. There were innocent that were taken out. Again, it just, you cannot just speak about another nation when your nation is hitting grids and taking out innocents. I mean, again, it might have been an accident, but you're still taking out innocents. It says here what happens next. Well, over the coming weeks, Moscow will evaluate the Venezuelan request and determine whether to deliver military hardware or logistical support, a decision influenced by Russia's own resource constraints and its ongoing war in Ukraine. Venezuelan officials may continue to lobby for rapid deliveries of missiles, radar upgrades, and air defense assist. Meanwhile, the U.S. military presence in the Caribbean is likely to remain elevated, keeping the region under high strategic tensions and making any Russian response potentially more consequential. And that's where we at. So we got nation against nation building up. Putin answers Nicolas Maduro's call to help Venezuela resist the U.S. president, and North Korea threatens U.S. with more aggressive action. And once again, guys, I would keep it updated with all these news, but we are definitely seeing nation against nation building up. All right, so I would keep it updated with all this. Check out the videos I posted today. The links will be in the description box. Now, the Senate kind of put a stop to Donald when it comes to striking Venezuela. But again, all that could change. We're just going to see how all this plays out. Thank you so much for watching. Till next time later. Peace.